Hey there, Alan Matthews here from Classical Guitar Shed, and let me ask you, how did you do in your practice over the last year, over the last 365 days? How did it go? In this video, we'll talk about some things you can ask yourself, some common pitfalls to avoid when answering this question, and how to get the most from a reflection on your playing so that you can move forward beautifully. In just a second. Rule number one, when looking back and evaluating how we're doing, is to avoid the gap. What is the gap? We all have this vision of where we want to be. Some might call it a goal, right? So a year ago, we said, this is where I want to be at this time. And now we're at that time, and chances are there's a gap. And if there's not a gap from that, then there's a gap from where we want to be ultimately. I want to be as good as so-and-so. Christopher Parkening, that's how good I want to do. I want to play the big piece, but I don't play that yet, and so now I'm sad. Instead of looking forward and seeing how far we still have to go, instead, because there's always going to be a gap between where we are and where we want to be. It's perpetual. It's like a horizon. It keeps moving away. The further we go, the more it's always ahead. So instead, we look back and say, how far have I come? What have I actually done? And so that way we're looking at progress only. We're looking at success. We're looking at progress. So one of the most important things you can do when reviewing is to celebrate your wins. And we all have wins. The fact that you're watching this video means that you're still in the game, that guitar is still a thing. So even if you had 3 days where you said, you know what? I'm gonna start playing guitar, or I'm gonna get back into my guitar, whatever it is, and you did it for a week, and then life intervened and you put it back down, and now it's been another year. Well, at least now you can say, but I'm still into it. I still want to do it, and I'm still showing up and watching this video. So at the very least, the fact that you're here is a win. So then you can look at other wins. Well, I did learn that one tune, or I learned something about whatever it was. I learned what that kind of chord was, or I'm better at switching chords, or I learned a new scale, or whatever it is that you've done over the past year. Celebrate that win. That's the point. We want to create endorphins when we're looking back. And the way to do that is to look at the good stuff. Now, also notice what worked and what didn't. So it could be that you said, I was going to practice before bed, but then a lot of times I was too tired, or my partner didn't wanted to talk, or whatever it would happen to be, and it didn't work. So the timing of the practice, you can look at that and say, did that work? Did that not work? Could it be better? So you could look at these elements of it. You could look at your practice planning and organization. Did you know what you were doing in your practice? And were you doing the things that you would plan to do in your practice? So if you said, you know what, I'm going to practice scales for 3 hours a day, and then you didn't do that, well, that's a problem with your practice planning, because that's too much, and it was unrealistic to think that you would do that you would keep your interest that long, and that you would put that much time into it. So you can adjust these things. You can look at, okay, well, that didn't work, but maybe 5 minutes of scales every day, maybe that could work. And then going forward, you could implement that. You could also look at how you organized your practice if you did. So if you were only playing pieces, then maybe add in a little bit of technique and say, you know what, I would probably be better if I did work on my skills, my actual hand skills, strength, speed, all this kind of stuff. Maybe if I worked on that a little bit, that would be better. Or maybe I could play more music. Or, you know what, I just really need some new music. I think I played that for too long and didn't have enough freshness, and then I dropped off because of that. Or I took a break, or whatever it happened to be. So look at how you organize your practice as well. If you don't like practicing scales, maybe practice scales second. Do something you really like first, so it's fun to sit down, and then practice your thing that you don't want to do, whatever that happens to be, and then do the rest, and then you've had a win. And also set a low bar to success for it. So, but the main thing is just look at what you've done and take what worked and move forward with it, and take what didn't work and change it. The other thing is your self-talk and your attitude. So how did you think about yourself and your practice? If you were always critical and always thinking, oh, I'm failing and I should be doing more and I should be further along and I just suck, then that's not encouraging. That's not motivating. Instead, ideally, we could then say, you know what? I'm just going to pat myself on the back and just enjoy practice for what it is, enjoy the time that I have on the guitar, and let that be good. That's what it's for anyway, is enjoyment. So I'm not going to beat myself up anymore. So another thing is that you could say, you know what, I kind of inflated myself and I did less than I was really capable of and really pumped myself up about it. And maybe I could be a little bit more strict with myself and I could grow more in this next year. However it goes, we could look at self-talk and attitude around the guitar and change it going forward. It's really important to remember classical guitar, it's a long game. It's not something that you learn in a month. It's not something that you do for 6 weeks and then it's done. It's a lifetime endeavor. So there's no arrival point. There's no point when you will say, I've made it. Here I am now a classical guitarist. It's just not going to happen. Because once you get to that point, then there will always be, just like we said, the horizon, it will always be out there. And we can grow and grow and grow until it's all over. And that's the beauty of the instrument, is that we can just continue with it. So it's important to know that going forward is that we can just focus on little bitty improvements, just day by day, little 1% improvements. And over time, over the next decade, over the next 2 decades, over the next 5 years, over the next 50 years, then these are the time frames we're talking about. And within that, then we can make our decisions and go with our practices and just lead a good life and have guitar as part of it. All right, hope you've enjoyed this video. Take a look at your last year and see what you think and see what small changes you could make to go forward that would improve your musical life, your musical enjoyment, and see if there's anything that you were doing that didn't work and don't do it anymore. All right, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and talk to you soon. Bye.